What's up everyone, it's Dan and this is level 0 in the object-oriented thinking curriculum. If you've never done programming before in your life, this video is for you, and even if you do know some of it, you might find this useful because today we're not going to learn any programming language, but we're going to learn how to think as a programmer. Let's go! To think as a programmer, you need to understand how everything works from inside. Starting from the top, let's briefly look at how the computer actually works. A basic computer for personal use will almost always consist of the same parts such as a processor, video card, virtual memory card, and physical memory drive. Processor is a unit which processes all the commands for the computer. The faster the processor is, the faster your computer. The most widely used processor brand names are Intel and AMD. Video card is an additional processing unit that is used to calculate the graphics output for the computer. If you're a gamer, then you're probably using one of the NVIDIA GeForce GTX cards. Physical memory drive or hard disk is a part that stores all your data. The most commonly used types of these disks are SSD and HDD. SSDs are faster and more reliable, but also more expensive. In contrast, HDDs are good for long-term data storage due to the relatively cheap price per gigabyte of data. Most personal computers would have only one type of a disk. Virtual memory is also called random access memory or RAM. Usually it's up to 16 gigabytes in size for a personal machine. A computer only keeps virtual memory while running, but as soon as you turn off the computer, it's gone. The access to the RAM is faster than access to the hard disk, and whenever you open a program on your computer, it's being loaded in your computer's virtual memory and stays there until the process is over. Once the program is done, the resources that program are used will be automatically freed up by the system. Now let's take a quick look at what actually runs on that hardware. The operating system. There are two kinds of operating systems, the ones that run on desktop and the ones that run on mobile. Windows, macOS, and Linux are operating systems that you would most likely see on a personal computer. iOS and Android are the mobile operating system that you use on your phone. The question is now, which one should I actually use? Here's how I would classify these three desktop operating systems. Windows and macOS are for everyday use and development, while Linux is mainly for development. The term Linux is broad, and usually when people say Linux, they mean one of the operating systems that are built on the Linux kernel, such as Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, and FreeBSD. There are many distributions of them, and you can always look it up if you want to know more about a particular one. For this course I will use Mac OS High Sierra, but for those of you guys running on Windows I will give extra hints so you don't get frustrated. If you're running on Linux, I would assume you already know how to deal with this beast. It would also make sense to say that some programs only work for certain operating systems. So if you have ever seen an .exe file extension on your Windows computer, then you can say that this particular copy of a program only works for Windows. This is because .exe is an extension for all binary executables files on Windows. What binary files are and how you can take advantage of them you will see in one of the upcoming episodes. However, now I want to show you the flow of all the programs that you're running on your computer today. Let's take a look at the calculator and think, how does it actually work? What happens after you tell the computer to run a calculator program? Well, what's actually happening is that your computer is loading the program into the virtual memory, creating a process which can be observed in the task manager. This process will be alive in the operating system until the program that is controlling this process has executed the code. As soon as it finishes, the process will be terminated and all the used resources are going to be unoccupied. Now let's look at what happens after the window of a calculator pops up. The program is still running because its interface is being rendered. This means that the program is still executing the code in the background and the task cannot be finished until the user sends the terminating command or closes the window of a calculator. As soon as we input new numbers into the calculator, the program remembers our input in a mathematical sequence and uses it to produce a final result after you press the equality button. On the example of a calculator, we can understand the general idea behind any program and define its flow. Any program takes something as an input, then uses this input to produce a new output after a certain calculation. So in the case of a calculator, the program takes many numbers and operators as the input and produces one number as the output. And this is the general idea behind all the programs that are out there today. So now let's quickly summarize the video and what we need to understand from what were said previously is that the hardware is the muscles of your computer and the software is the brain of it. Every computer is running on an operating system such as Linux, Mac OS, Windows, Chromium even, whatever operating system is. And the program is a set of operations that needs to be done on a provided input in order to get a result. So in case of a calculator, 2 plus 3 is your input and 5 is your result. Very simple. And this is what you need to understand for today. Thumbs up if you like it, follow if you aren't following me yet, and look forward for the next episode of That's Dev. See ya!